Hello, and thank you for joining me today. In this video today, I will be discussing business trusts by comparing them to other business entities. This video is for people who are new to the idea of operating a business in a business trust. And I just want to give you an overview of what's involved and how business trusts compared to other types of business entities. Now, this is the MooBay website. This is a page on the MooBay website under Resources, Business Entity Comparisons. And here we compare the business trust to corporations and LLCs. Now, there are other types of business entities, but the most popular business entities are corporations and LLCs within the general public, but business trusts are used widely internationally, and some of the largest, most profitable companies in the world are operating as business trusts. And the reason that is, and be sure to watch I have another video on business trusts, but business trust offers you so many more freedoms, regulatory freedoms, tax options, and tax benefits. And I'll go more into the benefits in another video on this channel. Now, let's look at this chart, this diagram. So we have business trusts, we have corporation, and we have the LLC. Now, they're all legal entities. Business trust is a legal entity. So that's something that all the business entities have in common, all the ones that I'm discussing. With regard to personal liability, the business trust allows you freedom from suits depending on the nature of the suit. And depending on how well structured your business document is, your business trust document, your trust indenture, and your trust agreement, how well it's written and structured, the corporation also has freedom from liability, personal liability protection, as well as the LLC. The degree of liability will vary between these entities. Many of you know and are aware that you're not completely free or completely free from liability with a corporation or an LLC, depending on the nature of what the suit is or what the claim against you is personally. But of the three, the business trust would guarantee and offer the greatest personal liability. But again, there's a caveat, and that caveat depends on how well written the trust instrument is, how well structured it is. And that when I talk about personal liability for business trusts, that also applies to the trustee, as well as the grantor, as well as the beneficiary. The grantor of the trust is separate from the trust in the business trust arrangement, but that grantor can also be a trustee. As a beneficiary of the trust, if you are the grantor, which is perfectly fine, you can't be the only beneficiary, the only trustee and grantor, but you can create a business trust and be a beneficiary. And as a beneficiary, you have protection that's based on how well structured your trust document is. And that applies to creditor protection. With creditor protection in a business trust, it depends on how well written your trust instrument is, but it is there. Same with the corporation, and depending on where you create your LLC, it varies by state how much creditor protection and as well as personal liability protection you have. Some states like Wyoming, Florida has favorable treatment to LLCs. With a business trust, you don't have to register it with the state. You can. There are statutory trusts. One of the reasons that people create trust is to not have the regulatory requirement, not have to register each year and release statements yearly about the business, the operation of the business. But there are statutory trusts that can serve a particular certain purpose, such as the Delaware statutory trust that's becoming popular for people, mainly in real estate businesses. But there's no mandatory option to register your business trust with any institution, any government institution or regulatory authority. The corporation and LLC, you must. You must register with the state that you're in, or you can register in another state. So because there's no registration of business trusts, there is no yearly registration fee, unlike the corporation and the LLC, where you do have regular fees. With a business trust, you can have shareholders. They don't call them shareholders. They're called trust certificate units or interest units that represents a stake or represents an interest in the business trust. And you can sell these interests, this public interest. With trust certificate units, they can be sold on the open market. People can buy into your trust, just like companies, just like stocks. Corporations can issue stocks. They can operate privately. They can operate publicly, just like a business trust. With an LLC, it is possible to operate publicly, selling interest in the LLC publicly, but it would have to be built into the declaration, the LLC declaration. And there also, you have what's called a public traded partnership, which is an election that people who have LLCs can make. They can make the election, but this has to be stipulated in the LLC agreement. In that way, the shares can be traded and listed on public exchanges. But in general, LLC does not allow you to sell shares publicly or privately. The setup costs for a business trust are generally high. And the reason that it is expensive initially, expensive relatively speaking, is because of the benefits that you are granted with the business trust, the flexibility and the savings amount that you save in other areas, including taxation, and the ease in which your business trust can be applied to a family trust without having to destroy the business or have the business go through probate or have the business attacked by creditors, almost said predators, have the business attacked by creditors and other liabilities. There's a smooth transition if you structure the trust agreement that way. You can maintain a smooth transition into a family trust, which is something that we recommend. Relative to corporations and LLCs, depending on the nature of your business, the costs can be quite high to create a business trust. But on the other side, maintaining the business trust, the costs are low compared to corporations and LLCs. Regarding perpetual existence, you can establish your business trust to automatically renew after a certain amount of years. Depending on the state where your trust would fall under legal jurisdiction, or if you register your trust with a particular state, you may not be able to. I know many states have clauses, have laws where you're not allowed to have perpetual existence, but I believe some states like Delaware, if you want to go that route with registering your trust as a statutory trust in some state, then some states allow it, but this is all an option. Generally speaking, you have the freedom to make your business trust exist for any number of years because it's considered a private contract, and what you and your trustees agree to, you have the right and freedom to do. Corporations are known for their ability to have perpetual existence. And with the LLC, that would be dependent upon your LLC document, the agreement. With the business trust and the corporation, it's quite easy to transfer interest in the entity, in the corporation or in the business trust. And it's also possible with the LLC to acquire members, each having a particular interest. But with regard to transferring the LLCs, the rights to the business ownership interests, this is very easy to do with corporations and business trusts. Federally, trusts are taxed at a very high rate unless they distribute all of the income. And then the beneficiary would pay the tax based on their tax bracket. So these are all things that have to be looked at and worked out in your business trust agreement. Now, I mentioned this before. Business trusts can go public like a corporation. LLCs typically are structured in ways that they're not able to go public, but you can make declarations, as I mentioned, either as a public traded partnership or as a master business partnership. These are all elections that can be made within the LLC agreement. So that's all I want to talk about in this video. There's always a lot more to discuss when it comes to trusts because there's so many options and so many separate circumstances and situations that in one size fits all sort of overview, it can only be that. It can only be an overview in general, and your specific situation may be different, most likely will be different. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you soon.